Team 1. Breach, breach, breach.
You're listening to Breach Your Mind. Hey guys, welcome back to Breach Your Mind. Hope everything is going well today. Like I said in the last episode, we're going to change a few things up this time around. We were thinking originally it was going to take a couple of weeks possibly before we could kind of get things in tune, but worked out, we got it up. So what we're doing different today is we're adding somebody to the show. We're going to actually have a real conversation between at least two individuals. And hopefully you guys will join in as time goes on with submitting your questions or leaving your messages, whatever the case may be, so we can talk about those topics as well. So the guy that's going to be joining us today is going to be our new co-host, somebody that I've worked with for a while. He's my best friend, and he and I are two totally different people, but we have similar mindsets in ways. And it's someone that I greatly respect. So I'm not going to sit here and drone on about him because he doesn't need me to fill his head and pump his ego. So I will turn it over to him. So without further ado, Chris, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
That was a pretty cool intro. You mostly deflate my head. You let me know that I'm not that great.
Well, it's because I'm the anti-dad, so.
Yeah. Little bit about me. Raised in North Carolina. Graduated high school in 2010. Didn't really know what I wanted to do. All my friends were going to college. I was not going to college. And spent a few months on my dad's couch and decided, you know what, I need to join the military. And I had a couple people shoving me in that direction, a couple of friends. One of them actually we joined together. So I joined the military, went to Fort Benning, Georgia, and at that point in time, it was still known as the Benning School for Boys, home of the infantry. So I went 11 series, which for people that don't know and aren't familiar, that's just infantry. That's regular boots on the ground. Yeah.
11 series.
Yeah. Boots on the ground, walking around with a gun, doing cool guy stuff. I didn't know there was anything else in the military. I thought that was it. So ended up at Fort Stewart, Georgia, and with the 3rd Infantry Division. Shout out to Dogface. Deployed shortly thereafter. And over that course of time, made it up basically just to the rank of specialist, and kind of stopped there, decided, I'm going to get out. Had really no idea. At that time, I had met my now wife, and my options were go to Korea for a year or get out. So I said, I'm out. Got out, and during the course of my process of getting out of the military, I really didn't have any idea what I wanted to do. Talked to some people, to include some family members, and they kind of pointed me in the direction of law enforcement. And my in-laws actually helped me pay for the academy at that time. I used the post 9/11 GI Bill to pay for it, but they needed the cash up front for me to get in. So my in-laws actually helped me out with that. So I appreciate them. And went to the academy in January. Yeah, January of 2015. Graduated in March. Got on with a local agency down in Southeast Georgia. Spent a year there, a year to the day, and then went to the agency where I met you.
Yeah.
And that's all she wrote. That's all she wrote.
There.
Yep, it was downhill from there. And I no longer work at that agency, unfortunately.
Yes.
But I am still currently active in law enforcement. I won't get into where I'm at or who I work for, but I'm still currently active in law enforcement. I love what I do every single day, even the bad days where I'm just like, man, why do I do this to myself? But
we all have that day.
Yeah, but it's a fulfilling career, and I love it, and I know you do too. We've had these conversations before where it's just like, we love what we do. And then there's days where we're just like, dang, man, there could be something else out there.
It's one of those jobs where, hey, you know what, somebody's got to do it.
Yep, somebody's got to do it. Why not
Somebody's
me?
got to do it. Exactly.
You know. So sweet. Well, what are we getting into today?
All right. Well, what we're going to do today is it's going to be a 3-part series over one topic. And I think that's kind of a fair thing to do. I think it's something that each individual segment of it really has earned its own right to be talked about in and of itself. So what we're going to do today is we're going to be talking about leadership and just some aspects, at least from our perspective, what makes good leaders. And we're going to break those segments up into the up and coming or the aspiring leaders. Then we'll have the other section or the other segment on the current supervisors or newly promoted managers, the middle management individuals. And then that third segment is going to cover the upper management or the admin portion of it. And I think you would agree that, it's worth mentioning that this is just our perspective. This is not saying we're 100% right. Obviously, there's a lot of aspects of different things that if we've not filled those roles, we don't fully understand. But at the same time, it doesn't stop you from having ideas and things or I guess you'd call it just ideas on if you were in that position, what you would do. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to go ahead and cover that first segment this week on the up and coming or aspiring leaders. And to me, I feel like that's important. We always say, today's kids are tomorrow's leaders, but I don't know that anybody ever really kind of focuses on that. They just kind of mull through life and everybody kind of picks out their way as they go. And of course, there's, tons of literature out there and podcasts and videos and things of that, because people are talking about it, but it doesn't really catch any kind of mainstream. And at least back when I was going through school, it was definitely something that wasn't really imparted into us in school. It was one of those, all right, we're going over social studies today and we're going to cover the War of 1812 or, whatever the topic was. And that's great. We need to know that stuff. But in my opinion, our schools don't teach us enough life lessons along the way. And we're left figuring out on our own. And as you and I both know, as well as everybody else in our profession or career field, figuring it out on your own is not always the easy way. And you can quickly get lost and kind of go down the wrong path. And that's where we come into play, or anybody else in our particular career field. So the up and coming and inspiring leaders. I know one thing that I've always thought, and I'm sure I heard it somewhere before, it's not an original thought, but one thing I've always thought was, in order to be a good leader, you had to be a good follower. And to me, that wasn't, being the yes man. It wasn't always being the guy that, whenever management spoke, you just jumped right in. Oh, yes, sir. I got it right now, sir. I'm gonna go get it right now, sir. The ones that everybody looks at as, oh, look at this butt kisser over here, or brown noser. It was somebody that could follow the directions, follow the orders, or whatever you want to call them, execute those orders or plans to the, I guess you'd say the quality or whatever that was requested. And at the same time, try to offer something else, like when the boss or whoever says, hey, this is what we need to get done. Hey, well, this is my idea on it, yada, yada, yada. I move on with that. That to me is taking a active role in becoming a leader, or just in general being a good follower, which is going to lead to being a good leader. So I think that's my first thought. And that was, I know that right after tech school, when I started doing my traditional guardsman, one of the guys that was in the prop shop working with us, he left the prop shop because he had finally gotten his bachelor's degree, got selected to go off to off candidate school, and he became, I believe, one of the navigators on the C-130, the H models that we were working on. He wound up becoming a navigator on it, and I was sitting there talking with my E8, and he goes, he's going to be a good officer. And I'm like, well, I mean, obviously you think that. You've worked here in the shop, would you, for 40 forevers and yada, yada. And he says, well, the reason behind that is because he knows what it's like. He knows what it's like being in the prop shop and having to work on the engines and work on the propellers and doing everything that we do. So when he's sitting up there in that hot seat on the plane, he's going to know what he does in that plane, how it's going to affect us here. He's worked with the crew chiefs, and he's going to know how what he does in that plane affects the crew chiefs and everybody on the ground crew. And because he's filled that role before, that's going to make him a better leader. And that made a lot of sense to me. I mean, you have any insight or anything regarding that?
No, I mean, I think we've had similar experiences, especially in the military. I mean, I've got a great example with my personal, and that's really all I can talk on is what I've experienced personally, what I've been through. I can't talk about, what it's like to sit in an office at a 9 to 5. I mean, I've never had that. No, I mean, there's no offense to anybody that does that. I'm not, I've never experienced that.
Right.
So I can only talk on what I have experienced. And, similarly like you in the military, I had a platoon sergeant, E6 type, that, man, he made sure from the first day that I was underneath him. He was by far, besides, my experience with a drill sergeant, which is a totally different aspect of leadership, in my opinion, that's a totally different realm. But when you first get to your first unit and you're first exposed to the leadership of that unit, that first impression is key. And man, did he make a first impression. I'll never forget it till the day I die.
I can only assume it had something to do with your mouth and you getting smoked.
Oh yeah, of course. But it wasn't, I mean, it really wasn't, I didn't do anything. I was scared shitless. I didn't know what to expect. But he let me know real quick who was in charge, but he kind of, dropped me down to that bottom level, and he built me up to who he wanted as a private or
right.
as a follower. Like you said, he wanted somebody, he built me up to be exactly what he needed me to be. And it took time. But he emphasized, and I really want to emphasize this, especially when it comes to those aspiring leaders. Know your job. Know your freaking job inside and out. Yeah. And that's kind of what he drilled into me. He was like, you need to know your job. You need to know the position below you's job. And then you need to know the guy above you's job. And then if you can get to know his job, I want you to know my job.
Yep. And
he ingrained that in me from day one. Because I was, my specific job, we were in a squad, and each member of the squad had a specific role that they played. Obviously, the newest guy, I was a driver, right? So I had to know everything about the track that we were on. I had to make sure I had to do all the preventive maintenance. I had to make sure everything was good to go on for the vehicle. Then I had to know the next guy's job, and then the guy above his job. And as I moved up in the ranks, not even in the ranks, as I moved up in the squad and learned all those jobs and got good and proficient at those jobs, I was able to maintain those jobs, even though I didn't have the rank.
Yeah.
Which was I put in the work, but he also saw like, hey, he's putting in the work. He knows this stuff. I'm going to keep him at this job because he's good at it.
Yeah.
So I think I really want to, again, emphasize, make sure you know your job. Make sure you know the guy below you and the guy above you's job.
Yep.
Because I think to become that leader, as long as if you're really super proficient at your job and you've already got that head start on knowing what's expected of you at the next level, I think that's key.
Right.
That's key.
Yeah, and if you'll remember working with me, that was one of the things that I kind of imparted on everybody on the watch too. Was, I want everybody to know how to do the corporal's job. I want everybody to know how to do my job. You might not know all the ins and outs of my job. You might not know all the ins and outs of the corporal's job, but it's important to know those roles. And that was what I imparted on the watch is, I want everybody to step up and learn those things, because you never know when you're going to be thrust into that position to have to make similar decisions. And to me, that was one of the most beneficial things to me, even when I was, still the zone guy, which was, noticing what the corporal was doing and not modeling myself, but learning everything that the corporal had to do, especially once I decided that, moving up in the management and things like that was something I wanted to do. That was something that was important to me, which was learning those jobs. I obviously knew my job, but I didn't know theirs. So that was something that probably helped that my FTO was also my corporal for a while. Take that for what it was. But that was important to me, which was doing that. And I think once I became a corporal, because I was already, I guess, mentally prepared for it, I was better at it. So yeah, I can, like I said, something I did with the watch. So I was obviously 100% supportive of that.
Yeah. And everybody that's listening, if we use some acronyms that you may not be familiar. Yeah, if you may not be familiar with, because we do talk cop and we talk military every once in a while. FTO is Field Training Officer, which is basically when you become the new guy, you get assigned to a senior deputy or officer, and their job and their role is to teach you the job. You've been through the academy, but their job is to teach you what is expected of the agency and all the paperwork and all that stuff. That's their job. Well, so I just kind of wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, that, and it's, there's such a huge separation between learning in the academy and what you learn in FTO too. I mean, when you're in the academy, they teach you the laws and they teach you this and they teach you criminal procedure, and they teach you the paperwork or the paper aspect of it. But when you get into field training, that's where the metal meets the bone. That's where you learn how to apply everything that you've learned sitting in the academy, plus more.
Right. Exactly.
You really learn how to actuate those things that you've learned.
Right. Exactly. But anyways, going back to what you said, when you decided that, hey, going up to the next level and being up, the management was the kind of thing that you were interested in. Did you step up? Did you take an active role when you were on the shift to be that guy, even though you didn't have the rank?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
I was definitely the guy that anytime there were extra duties or things like that, I would go ahead and put my name in for it. On the watch, if we were on a call and it was just two of us, I had no problem stepping up and helping make decisions on, especially instead of you getting that lull where everybody's just kind of staring at each other like, what are you going to do now? Hey, this is what I'm thinking, guys. This is what I'm thinking we need to go ahead and do. We know we got to get this, so we need to go ahead and do X, Y, and Z. Anybody got anything extra? And they're like, yeah, no, we got nothing. Let's do it. So yeah, I most definitely played an active role in it. And then with the watch that I was on at the time, I was actually afforded that leeway, which was something that was really nice too. It's always really nice when you're in a position, and I would say not just in our profession, but whether you're in the private sector or whether you're in business or even if you're a line cook somewhere, having management that's willing to give you that latitude to take a more active role, I think that teaches you a lot. I think you get a better perspective of your leadership that's above you. But two, it really teaches you a lot, because one of the things that was said to me, and I don't remember when it was in the career, but it was said to me, if you've got a question, don't call me with only a question. If you've got a question, call me with the question, but already have a solution ready. That way, when you say, hey, this is what I got, this is what I was thinking, then I can tell you, okay, well, this, this follows in the policy and you can do this and it's legal and yada, yada, yada. That was something that was really big. And that's something that I brought into my own leadership abilities or my leadership skills, was telling my people, look, I want you to think for yourself. I need you to have that critical thinking skill to be able to make those decisions. So if you've got a question, by all means, call me, but don't call me empty-minded. I mean, we obviously come across situations where we've never faced them before, and we're like, yeah, I got nothing. I don't know how we're going to do this. But at the same time, try to develop some kind of a idea or an actionable plan. That way, when you call me, you can say, hey, this is what I'm doing, or this is what I got, this is what I was thinking about doing, and then we can fine tune it from there. Or if we've got to scrap it and go to something all different, but at least you're taking that step to have an active role in the development of your own leadership skills. By going ahead and trying to think for yourself, that to me is extremely important. If you're just somebody that's not going to have any idea of what you got going on, you're lacking in some other skills that you need to focus on and kind of get up there. And with a lot of people, especially now that I've been in supervision as long as I have, with a lot of people, one thing I've noticed is it's not the fact that they don't know. It's not the fact that they don't know what to do, but they lack the confidence in themselves to want to vocalize their idea. And that's something that you got to push past on your own. Everybody can try to help you with it, but you've got to push past your own self-confidence to be able to have your own voice. And I think you and I can both think of one particular individual that we both know that, well, that's what I was thinking. You talk to them and that's their response is, oh, well, that's what I was thinking. Well, why didn't you say that? Why, if that's what you were thinking, and why didn't you do it? Or why didn't you say that to begin with, going, this is what I got, I don't know what I'm doing. And it's not a bad thing, but at the same time, it gets a little frustrating. It's like, look, this, what you're doing, and that's part of trying to instill that confidence, especially once you get into that supervisory role, is, what you're doing, you've got it. You don't have to ask these questions. You've got it. Now, if you want verification, by all means, but you've got this. Yeah. And I think that's when you're that aspiring leader or somebody that's trying to come up, that's one thing that confidence, man. And I think everybody can help with it. But again, it's something you have to do on your own. Ultimately, you've got to decide, you know what? I'm going to put it out there. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Yeah. You've probably heard me say it before. What's the worst they're going to do? Eat me? Yeah. The worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to be told, yeah, no, that's not a good idea. Or, that was stupid. Okay, so what? It was stupid. It was wrong. So what? You come up with a different idea, or if it's wrong, all right, well, that was what I was thinking. That's all I got. What you got, but
that's what was nice with you, working with you. That's what was nice is we would have a task. You would give us a task, or let's just say we'd get a call, right? Mm-hmm. We'd get a call and it was a hot call, man. Let's go. What I mean?
We all won't.
Oh yeah, that lights and sirens action, baby. We're
adrenaline dump.
Running a buck down a country road. Lights and sirens heading to go save the world, and we kind of as a shift, especially at that time, we all knew those hot calls. We knew those specific ones. Gun involved, that kind of thing. We were going to hold up a minute, and we were going to make sure we were going to get there in a quick amount of time, but we were going to hold up a minute. We were going to wait for each other, and we were going to kind of gather our thoughts and plans, and then we were going to go. Yep. But the best thing about you was, specifically, me and my partner, we worked well together, mm-hmm. And we always knew we could boom, 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 boom on the fly.
Yeah.
And we kind of knew what we were thinking, what each other was thinking, and we'd say, hey, Sarge, this is what we got. This is our game plan. And you'd say, well, sounds good to me. Because the thing with you, as long as we were within policy, which is key, as long as we were, not violating anybody's rights.
That's a big one.
That's a huge one in our line of work. You were good with it. You let us go with our plans and our ideas. And guess what? Most of the time they worked out.
Yeah.
But every good, well-laid plan, it never does. Something always happens.
Oh man,
but
I wish I could remember the video I come across. That was some show on the WB, and I think his name's like Professor Ice or something along those lines. But he was like, develop the plan, or come up with the plan, develop the plan, execute the plan. The plan goes to crap. Scrap the plan. Go to plan B. That is 100% of the way it is. Dude.
Yeah, and that's how it works.
100%.
That's how it works in a lot of. In the private sector, you might have some product you're trying to put out there, and you're trying to develop it, and it's trial and error. So yeah. But it takes the leaders to let the guys below them figure it out.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
Let them have their own mind. Let them bring their own skills into the whole process.
Yeah. And for those listening, if you're interested in what we're talking about, a lot of the ideas that I know that I have come up with and have talked about, they do come from personal experience, but they also come from, researching and reading and stuff like that. So, and I listen to a bunch of Jocko Willink. Yes. And if you guys haven't listened to Jocko and you're interested in this stuff, shout out Jocko, because
that dude's intimidating just to see on YouTube, man. Like,
oh yeah. Well, his voice is intimidating.
Oh my God.
But he is full of knowledge. He's got a company full time. And just look him up. He's got New York Times bestsellers. We'll try to drop a link. We'll try it. We don't know, but we'll try to drop a link to his New York Times bestseller, Extreme Ownership.
Figured that out.
Yeah, Extreme Ownership. Pick up a copy. He's got the audiobook. That's what I listen to on long car rides. I've listened to it like 3 times because I'm a fanboy. So, but anyways, I wanted to put that out there, that these ideas are not, I didn't just come up with these and pull them out of thin air.
Yeah,
I've heard this stuff before, and
they're not new.
Yeah, they're not original, but we're hoping that, if you guys listen to this and you hear this and you're like, okay, well, that makes sense. Well, if you want more clarification on it, because he can probably do it, go ahead and check him out. Yeah,
I would agree. There's in the way he puts the information out there. That's another thing that
phenomenal.
He's not excited. He's not loud. He's like, all right, so and then he's moved on. It's like,
check.
Yeah, check. It's great listening to him, but then you get into his background and what he did and what he still does, and it's like, oh my God, he is so, like, I'm sure he's a great guy to talk to. I have no doubt in my mind at all. But when you know a little bit about him, you're just like, oh God, this guy could eat me just by looking at me, man. I don't.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if I want
absolutely. No, but no, absolutely check him out.
Yeah.
And the book is really good. I know Brian does not like to read. I've been trying to get him to read it.
I'm not a fan.
I've been trying to get him to read it. No fail yet.
I'll do the audiobook.
Yeah, well, the audiobook's going to be your Christmas present.
I'm game for that. Man, I can't help it, man. I start reading and I just fall asleep. Like, I'll get 3 pages in. It's my biggest fault. Like, I can lay down and be asleep in like 10 seconds. So you're just going to sit me there and expect me to sit still. Like, it's not me, man.
Yeah, I know.
I can't do that.
While we're on the topic of the aspiring leader, I also want to make a comment. We talked about it offline. Excuse me. We talked about it offline, and you and I are both in agreement here. It's great for people to want to step up and be a leader. Yeah. Sometimes it's okay to be a follower, though, too. It's 100%. Okay.
Yep.
You don't. If you're just not there yet, that's fine. Be the best damn follower you can freaking be.
Yeah.
Give 110% effort, and make your supervisor's job easier.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. And some people have it and some people don't. And it's okay not to have it.
Yeah. I mean,
you know what I mean?
That falls into the know your strengths and weaknesses kind of thing.
Yeah.
Some people can't develop those skills. It's all of our brains are different. The chemistry is different. We all got different backgrounds and things that we've done through life. So we're not all going to be geared toward the same thing, and that's 100% okay. Which kind of leads me into what I was going to be talking about here in a second, which was those unofficial leaders. And I had told you, I didn't, keep it from you. You were an unofficial leader with us when you were here working with me. Aside from the corporal, you were my right-hand guy. And every organization, regardless of the career, regardless of the job, every organization needs those people. That's an extremely vital role. And in my opinion, the biggest part of that is because of the separation, or at least the perception of a separation of management and the worker. Not that management doesn't work, but the management and the worker. People start seeing people get rank or get promotions and moving up in the hierarchy, and something mentally tells them, well, they're not the same as me anymore. So they still have to have somebody that they can go to. And for people that have that lack of confidence, that lower confidence, and want to bounce an idea off somebody, but don't want to think that the leaders are, going to look down on them for having a bad idea, they have to have somebody to talk to, and it may not be their friend on the watch. It may be the one that they look at and they're like, okay, that person knows what they're doing. They're smart. I don't see them screwing up the job itself all the time. So let me go bounce it off them. And that's something that they do by trial and error. Everybody's observant, so you can always see who you're working with knows what they're doing. And that's where you come in. That's where you come in when you were working with us, was you were that unofficial leader. Everybody leaned on you, and they had it might have been because you were so outspoken. I don't know, but
that probably had a lot to do with it.
You could be a little loud. But everybody kind of leaned on you. They had no problem calling you up, being like, "Hey, Chris, this is what I've got. What do you think?" Or, "Hey, I want to start doing more with interdiction, or I want to start doing more with running traffic, or different aspects of the job." They had no problem calling you up. And likewise, whether you knew or not, I think I eventually told you, but I would use you as my medium between my position and the zone guys. I would use you as that medium because you and I worked so well together on a professional level, and we had our relationship outside of work. I could communicate with you, look, man, this is what we got going on. I know none of us like it, or whatever the situation was, but we got to get it done, yada, yada, yada. And before I know it, you're turning around without me going, I need you to get everybody pumped up for this or get everybody on board with it. Without me doing it, you would go back to the watch. And when it come time for me to say, all right, guys, this is come down from the top. This is what, we're going to have to start doing now, yada, 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 blah, 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 blah. You were that guy that was like, hey guys, this isn't something Sarge, decided. This was something that come down from management. It's something we don't have any choice in doing. And I'm saying it in a negative context. It's not always a negative context, but I think you and I both agree that as much as cops in particular won't change, that is the worst thing. That is the worst thing. We won't change, but then when you change something, we're not happy.
You lit us on fire.
Yeah. So I mean, it could be something as simple as like when we changed report software. We went from using one report software. It was, oh my God, this is there was nothing wrong with the old one. This thing sucks so bad, and it can't keep reports, and I can't get into it, and every excuse in the world. But then we started using it a couple years, and they're like, all right, guys, we're gonna start using this one. Oh my God, what's wrong with this one? There's nothing wrong with this one. It works just perfect. I love this one. And that's literally the one we were already complaining about. It's
yes.
You can't please us. We're always
no.
But even when it was things like that, you were my guy to communicate on that that level with everyone else. Like, hey, guys, there's nothing we can do about it. We can't change it. The only thing we can do is work with it and move on. Now, I'm sure you had plenty of conversations with other people and even with me where the true feelings come through.
You have to have those conversations though, or you'll go mad.
Oh yeah, you'll implode.
You've got to vent. You've got to vent.
But that's the thing, you know. I obviously wanted you to come up through the ranks, and eventually you were like, I'm just not interested, dude. But to me, you were a great leader. I mean, I think I even told you before, I wanted you to be a training officer. I wanted you to be a field training officer. You fought me tooth and nail on it, but I wanted you to
I have
do
my
those
own
things.
opinion. I have my own opinion on that, though. We can get into that at a later date, but I have
Okay.
my own. I have my reasons for saying no at the time.
I get it. I'm not faulting. I'm just saying, you know, I thought that your style, your leadership ability as the unofficial leader, you know, that was a great thing. And because people were so willing to talk to you, and because you were so willing to help people, you know, that was the deal. But at the same time, you know, staying on that topic of, you know, if you don't ever become a leader, I guess that's stupid. We're not going to put the video up. I'm sitting here doing air quotes, and there's nobody going to see that. So, air quote leader. You know, even though you never wanted to or did move up through the rank of promotions, you were still that leader. You know, you still took that role of unofficial leader, and you ran with it, and you made it your own, and you did it. And that falls in line with what you were just talking about, you know, some people, if you're not somebody that can be one of those promotable leaders, that's okay. Obviously, I'm not saying that's you, because I obviously think differently, but that's important. You know, if you can't be a promotable leader, you can still have leadership qualities and leadership aspects at the point of where you are now. Because if you wind up being an unofficial leader, that's a vital role, man. That's huge. That's huge for you to have your coworkers and people that doesn't work with you on a constant basis. It's huge to have them come to you for advice, you know, calling you up. Hey man, you know, the other day I had this call that I was doing this, you know, what's your thoughts on it? You know, that's a huge thing. It's a confidence builder in you, but at the same time, it just kind of, you know, reaffirms that leadership ability, because that's what a leader does. A leader is somebody that sits there and is willing to part that information out. So I think the role of an unofficial leader is equally as important as those that wind up moving up the chain. So, you know, just to reaffirm what you said, if you're not somebody that can fill those roles officially, I mean, there's absolutely nothing wrong with not being in that role. Nothing.
Well, we also have to take into account as well. I mean, we're also talking not only to law enforcement, military, but we're also talking to the private sector. They may be in an industry that the chance for lateral growth isn't there.
Yeah.
I mean, even in our profession, sometimes it's not there. Those smaller agencies.
I think you mean upward growth.
Yeah. Sorry, I misspoke. Yes, the positions may not be open.
Yeah.
Right. So you may have, you know, what it takes to be in those positions, but they may not be available to you. You can still be that guy or that girl. You can still do it, you know, without the quote unquote rank.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah,
you don't need to have
agree.
some shiny stuff on your collar that says, "Hey, look at me, I'm in charge."
Yep. I agree with that 100%.
You don't need that. So I think that's another thing we need to, you know, you need to think about is being the guy or gal that everybody else kind of says, hey, they know what the heck they're doing.
Yeah.
Before we go bother the boss man, we should probably go ahead and ask him and see what, or him or her, and see what they've got to say about it.
Yeah. And if you think back to, you know, our days in the military, that was something that was imparted on us too. You handle things at the lowest level possible first.
Lowest level possible.
You know, it didn't matter whether it was discipline, didn't matter what it was. You handle everything at the lowest level possible first, and you take the big stuff to the boss. You know.
Yeah. I don't know about the new and improved military, but in my day, if I went above the E4 to a E5 sergeant, like a buck sergeant, and said, "Hey, Sarge, I got a problem," and I didn't run it past E4 first, I wouldn't be feeling good the rest of the day.
Yeah.
So
it might be a problem.
Yeah, it may be a problem, but we're not saying that that's necessarily how it works in the private sector. But
I may have
based on
emotional
my
distress
experience,
cards now.
let's not get into that. Let's not get into that. I'm a little dated. It's been man, I got out in 2015, So, I mean, I'm looking at 6 years out. I'm a little dated. I don't really know how
6
things.
years.
Hey, 6 years is a long time, boy. It's a long time.
I think I got out in 01, 02.
Yeah, you're super dated.
Yeah, but
You were
I
also.
was also
yeah,
Air Force, so
Yeah, you were in the Air
not like
Force.
it's like I was like in high stress.
Right, it's
Yeah,
okay.
it's
The
upsetting.
tarmac can get hot.
It did very, very much so, especially down in Florida.
Yes.
I didn't know Florida got cold.
Yes.
That was something interesting. Working over there in Fort Walton Beach, and the winter hit, and it was like 18 degrees on the flight line. I'm like, oh my
Oof.
God, this is
With the wind
Florida.
chill.
Yeah, I'm like, this is Florida, man. This is the Sunshine State. This is bull.
Yeah.
Sitting there on the B5 stand freezing. We've got the heater cart that we normally hook up to the aircraft. We've got it safety wired to the platform, blowing 200-degree air filled with freaking exhaust that's blowing up through the graded floor onto us. We're like,
That's good for your health.
oh, it's great. I mean, it's
Great for your health.
carcinogens. JP8 plus 100, man. It was fine. It was 100%
No big
fine.
deal.
Yeah, we're all holding our hands over it like we're sitting there with a campfire. It was great. And then, of course, you had me. I got these short, fat fingers, and I can't work on the engines with gloves on, so I'm having to take the gloves off in 18-degree weather and try. Ugh, I hate an engineer. I say hate. Hate's a strong word. Shouldn't hate. I dislike with a strong intent to hate engineers.
Oof.
Yeah.
Oof.
Because I have fat, meaty hands, and they're short fingers, and I'm trying to reach in here to, start this bolt that's stuck between a gearbox and an engine block. And yeah, they got all these special wrenches you're supposed to use that don't freaking work until it's already in the freaking hole.
Yeah. So I think we touched on everything that we kind of wanted to touch on when it came to the aspiring leader or the unofficial leader. You got anything else?
I honestly, no, I don't.
We could go on and on about it, really and truly.
Oh,
I mean, we really
oh, yeah.
could. I mean, there's a
They
lot to
tell
touch on.
stories and no,
Yeah.
I think to me, I know you had your points as well. I think to me, the biggest thing was one, stepping up, getting that self-confidence to step up. And
Yep.
then, the whole aspect of, in order to be a good leader, you got to be a good follower.
Yeah, know your job.
Yeah,
Know your job.
And it doesn't mean that you got to, be a brown noser or kiss butt or anything like that. But, being that good follower, that's,
Yeah.
And by no means, I mean, you have to worship the ground of the admin, but at the same time, you've got to play that supportive role as well. So,
Right. No, absolutely.
I think that's the big thing for me.
Make your your supervisor, your leader's job easier because they don't have to worry about going back behind you and fixing all your mistakes.
Yep. I mean, how many times did I tell people, I come on scene and you guys are already handling the crime scene log and you got the tape up, or I get on scene and I'm going, hey, who's got crime scene? Who's got, the crime scene tape? Who's doing this? And it's not because I didn't know you guys knew what you were doing, but at the same time, I'm responsible for making sure it gets done.
And our response was, we got it, Sarge.
Yeah.
We got it. You can leave now. You're aggravating me. Go away.
I think you were the only one that said it on scene to me.
Yes, it was. No, there may have been one other person that I could think of that probably said the same thing.
Yeah, there's at least one other.
Yeah.
But no, I think that's about what I got as far as the upcoming and spiral one. So
Sweet.
Well, if you've got nothing else on this one, then like Chris said, we'll drop a link for Jocko's podcast, and at least we'll try. I think I got it figured out, but we'll drop a link to Jocko's his book and his podcast. It's by no means is it a Bible, but it is a good resource for you to reach out and take in some information.
It's not your Bible.
What?
I said it's not your Bible. I mean, I read it religiously.
Yes, I don't worship at the temple. But
fanboy status.
It's not a surprise. Good beaver hair. But yeah, we'll drop a link in that. Man, any of you guys, if you don't click on the link, if it doesn't turn into a hyperlink, because we are getting started in all this, so be forgiving as you can. Just look it up. I'm sure he's on Amazon Books with Extreme Ownership, as well as on YouTube with the Jocko Willink Show. So just reach out to that. And by all means, that's not the only resource, but that's just one that Chris and I are both very familiar with and truly support. So
yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's gonna about wrap this one up. So guys, we really appreciate the time. We appreciate you hanging out with us, and hope you enjoyed the fact that we actually had some real conversation. A couple people bantering back and forth. That's going to be the format that we go with, and hopefully we can find our own way through this as we move forward. Let us know what you think. Reach out to us. We're on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. So reach out to us and let us know. And as always, if you've got any particular topics that you want to hear or anything like that, just go ahead and reach out to us. All right. Appreciate it, guys. And we'll catch you on the next one.